Greetings and bienvenue crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Be me, Postman Anon. I work in a rural area in Maine, isolated enough to be a super small town, but not isolated enough to be so depopulated we don't have a full-time post office. Most of my route is in the sticks and small suburbs, mostly just listening to podcasts and doing drone work on autopilot. The small town has some commercial spots for jobs. Off by its lonesome is an office building, decent-sized building, huge amounts of parking space, is on my route but was vacant for years. Townsfolk say a computer company and a law firm used to work there years ago or something but shut down after the '08 recession. Sometimes I'd go by and there'd be some lights on but no cars in the massive parking lot. Never saw anyone go in or out. One day we got a package for them. Standard Amazon box addressed to no names and has the correct address and postage for the building. My boss says that maybe the building isn't vacant anymore and they just moved in. Are doing renovations. Cars had been spotted in the parking lot. Some brief activity. When I show up it's empty. Was running late. It was mid-fall and it was about dusk. Chilly too. Some lights are on. When I get to the door it's unlocked but the place looks like it hasn't been touched. One of the windows was spidered. Glass was dirty. Some litter and graffiti. Could just leave the package at the front door but I'm curious so I enter. It's a weird entrance. Goes into a small corridor. To my left there's an open door with a staircase going up and down. Absolutely pitch black. In front there's a pair of shut red double doors. To my right an open door with a well-lit hallway with one door directly at the end. No other doors or windows or paintings. Light switch is there. And the lights aren't automatic. WTF. EXE. Double doors are locked. Hello, USPS delivery. Anybody? No response. Decide fuck it and walk down the hallway anyway. As I'm nearing the door I hear, clear as day, running footsteps behind me. Literally feel the vibrations of the floor. They're accelerating down the hallway, increasing in intensity towards me. Gonna get mugged by a crackhead. Gonna get a surprise butt sexed. Scream like a bitch. Fling around as fast as I can and drop the package. Absolutely nothing there. Goosebumps. Panting. Poo in pants. Just then I hear what sounds like a filing cabinet fall over from behind me. Behind the door. My face when genuinely scared out of my fucking mind and book it. Never tell the boss what happened. Tell her everything went fine. Nobody ever moved into that building. Moved out of town for college. A friend tells me they sold the property and tore it down and are making it into a development. Scan left with individual at address.
Phantom mailman. Ever swore that you've seen someone, maybe a stranger, maybe someone you know, or maybe the mailman in your peripheral vision or even your center of vision walking, driving or biking up your driveway or up to your door. And as you walk up to greet them or open the door for them, notice that there is no one there and in all due likelihood wasn't at all. It's like that. Perhaps it was just your imagination, but perhaps it wasn't and you suddenly feel a cold chill or come to the sudden realization, suspicion or feeling that something malevolent just entered your house as you just gave it permission to enter your property without realizing you did so.
An anonymous postal worker from Washington, D.C. was out delivering mail one day when he decided to stop and eat an apple. When he was finished, he looked around for a trash can and, finding none, decided to just toss it onto the ground. Before he could leave the area, a security guard approached and lectured him for his negligence, explaining that the entire building and surrounding grounds were under constant surveillance. The postal worker thought about this, along with the fact that he already had to be buzzed in to deliver the mail, and began thinking that there was more to this place than met the eye. A while later, he was out on his usual delivery run when he came by the foreboding building again. This time, he saw 3 men walking toward the building, except they didn't appear to be like men. They waddled when they walked instead of putting one foot in front of the other. And they were abnormally thin. It was this thinness more than anything that frightened him. Though shaken, he decided to soldier on and march his way up to the door to deliver the mail. When he entered, he found a group of men who began questioning him about what he had seen moments earlier. He was flabbergasted and unable to respond until one of the strange beings who he had seen earlier sidled up near him, at which point he felt even more terrified. After more grilling by the men in the room, and after repeating that he had seen nothing at all, he was allowed to leave. His mail route was changed shortly afterward.
The United States Postal Service is spying on me. I know it. They always harass me when I go there. And then they even have keys to access the corridor of my apartment complex. They track everyone. They're undercover spies using package delivery as a cover. They go through my mail. The government has access to everything I send and everything that is sent to me. I experimented by sending myself mail by dropping it off in a mailbox late out night while wearing a disguise. I was 3 towns over. I took a bike there and I know no one followed me. I had shungite in my pocket to deflect their heirlooms too. I'm telling you, they are the government's tools for spying on the people. They have access to all of the information about you. Passwords, account numbers, who you talk to, everything. Think about all of the postman propaganda we are fed every day.
I would say that not all mailmen are spies. It would be impossible to have that many people working in the mail industry and keep it a secret, because when they need that many people, they're scraping the barrel, and many of them probably can't keep secrets for shit. Loose lips sink ships. They know this, however. This isn't to say that they don't have agents who are plants in the mail industry. It wouldn't be practical to have every single postman be an agent. I would imagine that they would pose as a regular person and try to get hired. Then, I would imagine they would take their mail truck to an outpost somewhere for people to look through all the mail and take notes of what's in there. If whoever is in charge of the particular post office in question isn't on it too, then the process will be more streamlined. Like I said, I don't think that all mailmen are agents, but that they would plant agents in particular places that they feel need investigating. I'm pretty sure the idiot who keeps parking as close to the driveway as possible to fuck with us when my mother started yelling at him to stop blocking the driveway on his first day is not an agent. He was actually blocking the driveway, which is also next to a fire hydrant, but about to leave soon anyway. If he's dumb enough to not know how to park and even screw with my mother by parking too close, he is not qualified to be an agent. It would be too high profile. Something must be going on with someone in your apartment, whether it's you or someone else. I don't know, but whoever they are, they're dragging everyone in the building into their investigation. And whether their investigation is for rightful cause or not, who knows? It could either be them trying to legitimately stop espionage, or because some X-file posted too many 9/11 conspiracies. Your guess is as good as mine. Pick one.
I don't know if this counts as paranormal or not, but I'm scared as hell. A bit of background so this makes sense. I live in England. In England, postmen, mailmen push mail packages directly to your door. Unless it's too big or needs to be signed for, then they knock on the door. I live in a flat. There's 4 flats in this block, 2 up and 2 down, and I live upstairs. To get into the building you have to either have a key or press someone's intercom buzzer and they buzz you in. Pretty late tonight my buzzer went off. When I answered it, a male voice said Parcelforce, the name of a parcel delivery company. I'm expecting something, so I buzzed them in and opened my front door to wait for him to come up. Except he didn't come up. In fact, although I heard the door open and close from the intercom, I never heard any footsteps in the building. I went to the windows on the landing to see if I could see him, but nobody was outside. I looked around inside, but nobody was there either. I thought it was pretty weird, but thought it must be nothing, so I just went back to my flat and forgot about it. Now some creepy shit is going down. Both lights on the communal landing, which are timed to go on at a certain time and stay on all night, are out. So even if I look through my spy hole in the door, I can't see anything. There's a bunch of weird noises out there. Slow footsteps. Railings clanging. WTF. I cannot deal with this. 2 of my neighbors are out. Their cars are gone, as they usually are on a Friday night. The other flat is an elderly couple who are stone deaf and probably sleeping. I can't help thinking this has something to do with the mailman I let in earlier.
This is a classic, and probably the most well-known case, but is always a good read. Betty and Barney Hill abduction. The Hills lived in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, USA. Barney was an employee of the U.S. Postal Service while Betty was a social worker. On September 19, 1961, the Hills were driving back to Portsmouth after a vacation in Canada. At around 10:30 p.m., just south of the town of Lancaster, Betty observed a bright light in the sky that moved between the moon and Jupiter, upward to the west of the moon. While Barney drove down Route 3, Betty thought she saw a falling star moving upward. It moved erratically and grew in size. Betty urged Barney to stop the car for a closer look at the phenomenon, as well as to walk their dog that was with them. Barney stopped at a picnic area south of Twin Mountain. Through binoculars, Betty observed an odd-shaped craft flashing multicolored lights travel across the moon. Barney thought it was a commercial airliner at first, but changed his mind as it rapidly descended in his direction. They quickly got back in their car and drove towards Franconia Notch, a narrow stretch of mountain road. The object rapidly descended towards their vehicle, causing Barney to stop the car in the middle of the highway. The silent craft hovered around 100 feet above the Hill's car and filled the entire field of the windshield. Carrying his pistol, Barney stepped out of the car. With the binoculars, Barney claimed to have seen 8 to 11 humanoid figures peering out the craft's windows, looking at him, while the other humanoid figures appeared to walk towards a panel on the wall of their craft. One remained and communicated a message telling Barney to stay where you are and keep looking. Bat wing fins extended from the craft bathed in red light, and a long structure descended from the craft. Barney ran back to the car in a frantic state and drove away at high speed as the object shifted above them. The Hills heard a rhythmic series of buzzing sounds which seemed to be coming off the trunk of their car. The car started to vibrate, with a tingling sensation beginning to pass through the Hills' bodies. At this point, they experienced an altered state of consciousness in which their minds were dulled. A second series of buzzing returned them to full consciousness. They had traveled nearly 35 miles but only remembered vague sections of the road. They recalled an unplanned turn, a roadblock, and the fiery orb in the road. Returning home, they experienced odd sensations and impulses they couldn't explain. Their watches wouldn't work. Barney noticed the binoculars were damaged without damaging them, and his shoes were scrapped. He also had the strange compulsion to examine his genitals in the bathroom, but found nothing unusual. Betty observed her dress was torn at the hem, zipper, and lining and noticed a strange pink powder on her dress. Shiny circles were noticed on the car's trunk that were not there the previous day, which interfered with the needle of a compass. The couple reported the encounter to Pease Air Force Base, though withheld some details to avoid being labeled as eccentric. Initial the 22nd of September interview and report by Major Paul W. Henderson determined that the couple had probably misidentified Jupiter. This report was submitted to Project Blue Book. Betty wrote to Donald E. Kehoe, leader of National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, on September 26 with details of their encounter. National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena member Walter N. Webb met with the Hills on October 21, 1961. After a 6-hour interview, Webb concluded they were telling the truth, though they had a mental block on their memories. 10 days after the alleged UFO encounter, Betty began having strange and vivid dreams that continued for 5 straight nights, then never returned again. In one dream, she and Barney were stopped at a roadblock by men who surrounded their car. She lost consciousness but fought to regain it. She then realized 2 of the men were forcing her to walk through a forest at nighttime. Barney was walking behind her, as if in a trance. The men were around 5 feet tall and were matching blue uniforms with military-type caps. They were humanoid, with black hair, dark eyes, prominent noses, bluish lips, and gray skin. In another dream, Betty, Barney, and the men were walked up a ramp into the disc-shaped craft that appeared metallic. When inside, the 2 were separated. When she protested, Betty was told by one of the men that it would take much longer if they were examined together. She was taken to another room, where a new man entered to conduct her exam. This man spoke in imperfect English and she had difficulty understanding him. The examiner told Betty the tests were to note the differences between humans and the craft's occupants. On November 25, 1961, the Hills were interviewed again by 2 more National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena members. The 2 determined the couple was missing time, as they arrived home in 7 hours when their trip would have normally taken 4. The members suggested to the couple to try to elicit hidden memories through hypnosis. Thought Barney was apprehensive. The couple agreed as it would put to rest the nonsense of Betty's strange dreams. The 2 were hypnotized in several sessions beginning on January 4, 1964 and ending June 6 of that year by Benjamin Simon, to whom Barney's psychiatrist recommended. Barney was hypnotized first. Under hypnosis, Barney reported that the binocular strap had broken when he ran from the UFO back to his car. When driving, he felt compelled to pull off the road and into the woods, where he sighted 6 men standing in the dirt road. The car stalled as 3 of the men approached. They told him not to fear, and the leader of the men told Barney to close his eyes. The beings often stared into his eyes, which had a mesmerizing effect. Under hypnosis, Barney said things such as, "I felt like the eyes had pushed into my eyes, and those eyes, they're there in my brain." He recalled that the couple was taken onto the disc-shaped craft where they were separated. He was escorted to a room with 3 of the men and told to lie on a small rectangular exam table. Barney's exam narrative was less detailed than his wife. As he kept his eyes closed from fear, a cup-like device was placed over his genitals. Though Barney did not experience orgasm, he thought a sperm sample had been taken. They scraped his skin and peered into his mouth. A thin tube was inserted into his anus and quickly removed. Someone felt his spine and appeared to be counting his vertebrae. Barney heard them speaking in a mumbling language he did not understand, but that they understood English and could communicate with him telepathically. Barney was unfamiliar with the term and said it was thought transference. When they spoke English, he noted their mouths did not move. He recalled being escorted from the ship and taken to the car, and watched the ship leave. Under hypnosis, Betty's account was similar to that in her dreams, but had notable differences. The sequential order was different. The men had a somewhat different physical appearance, and she had many details that were not in her dreams and sometimes contradicted her dream content. However, her account was consistent with Barney's narrative in hypnosis regression. Simon gave a post-hypnotic suggestion to Betty to draw a copy of a star map shown to her by the leader of the men that had been described as a 3-dimensional projection similar to hologram. Although hesitant at first, Betty did what Simon suggested. She was only able to map the stars that stood out in her memory, which were 12 prominent stars connected by lines and 3 lesser ones that formed a triangle. She said that the stars connected by solid line formed trade routes, whereas the dashed lines were less traveled to stars. Simon speculated that Barney's recollection was possibly a fantasy inspired by Betty's dreams, though admitted this hypothesis did not explain every aspect of the experience. Epilogue. In 1968, Marjorie Fish of Oak Harbor, Ohio, learned about the case through a 1966 book by John G. Fuller, which included a copy of Betty's star map sketch. An amateur astronomer, the elementary school wondered if it could be deciphered to reveal where the UFO came from. Assuming one of the stars was the sun, Fish constructed a 3-dimensional model of nearby sun-like stars based of stellar distances published in the 1969 Gliese Star Catalog. Studying the map over several years, she determined the only star that could match was the double star system of Zeta Reticuli. The distance needed to match these stars into the distinctive triangle on Betty's map was not generally available until the 1969 catalog was published.
Be college student me. Work in admissions office. It's boring and agonizing having to punch into the system those stupid college fare cards high school kids always fill out. Small college, but rich history and tons of too spooky haunting stories. Trying to burn all my work study hours at the start of the semester so I don't have to come in later in the year. Boss lets me run mail across campus. Delivering packages and stuff to professors. One of them requires me going into the school's theater. Remember my drama major friends telling me the place is haunted. Normal delivery, nothing happens. Curious fucker though, so I pop my head into the larger theater because doors were unlocked. Scan aisles and see that there's one chair stuck down, but nobody in it. Just a weird chair. Notice lights flickering and start to hear applause. Chair swings right back up. Feel a cold breeze blow by me and the door to the sound studio creaks open on its own. Back out of theater slowly. Get back to work and GTFO to my dorm. Telling friends what happened. They share that it was Sister Anne, the nun who used to help with drama but died a few decades back. She does weird shit in theater all the time. Nothing bad, not even scared. Sister Anne is a permanent fixture of that school's drama department. She goes to every play and is there even after hours. Saw or heard her at least 4 more times while there.
Personally, I've only had pretty minor weird stuff happen to me. However, I'm kind of convinced my grandmother is tuned into something. She has a knack for sensing death. B8, at Grandma's house. She tells me she has a bad feeling about something out of the blue. Calls my great-grandfather to ask how he feels. He says good but lightheaded. Calls her cousin later because she still has a bad feeling. Asks cousin to go check on my great-grandfather, since he lived next door to him. Cousin calls back later and tells my grandma that my great-grandpa didn't answer the door, but he could see him watching TV on the couch. Great-grandma and her friends get home from bingo game, find great-grandpa dead on the couch. My grandma knew the whole time that he was going to die. Then a couple of years later this happened. Grandma worked as a rural postal carrier, driving around in her car, alone, delivering mail. Is on normal route, normal day.
Be a mailman. I have a creepy old house on my road. Very little mail, just the usual utility bills, etc. One day there is a small box, and think nothing of it. A few days later another small box, this one heavier. Start to get suspicious since I've never seen anyone at this house. Boxes start being delivered to this house regularly, about every other day. Boxes start getting heavier and heavier. One day deliver a certified letter to the house, so I have to knock on the door. Also another small box, something rattling around inside. A home occupant answers the door and is friendly. Sign for the letter, also give them the box. Decide to go for it. Ask what all the boxes are for. Home occupant tells me about Amazon Prime for fast, free shipping and more. Prime members also enjoy exclusive access to movies and TV shows, ad-free music, unlimited photo storage and Kindle books. When you want it, when you need it, free 2-day shipping with Amazon Prime. Need a last-minute gift. Can't get out of the house, realize you forgot to pick up something. With free 2-day shipping from Amazon Prime, your shopping problems are solved. You get unlimited deliveries with no minimum order size, and with 20 million eligible items, the options are practically limitless. From big to small, A to Z, home to office, and everywhere in between, satisfying that shopping itch or need is just 2 days away. Prime members also get free same-day delivery on over 1 million items when shipping to selected metro areas across the U.S. Learn more about all the Prime shipping options, instant access to video streaming, enjoy popular movies and TV episodes included with Prime. Not an ad read, just a shitpost.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember that all videos have been archived on the Odyssey page.